Let's talk about CrossFit. So let's not just talk about CrossFit, but let's talk about injury rates associated with CrossFit. Now, when I was in school, chiropractic school, and even throughout my program in the master's degree of sports science and rehabilitation at Logan University, we always talked about different kinds of training, different kinds of sports, and the injuries associated with them. And one thing that kind of kept going up was CrossFit and its reputation for being notoriously associated with increasing rates of injury to people. So people go to CrossFit and it's like, oh, you're surely going to get injured because of how the training is. It's too much weight, it's going too fast, etc. So I finally went out and I tried CrossFit out for myself. And I met some of the CrossFit owners and they were really great people. So I decided to do a little bit of digging and a little bit of investigation and some research on the topic. Let's just see if there's any research out there. So CrossFit's not a very old sport. It's relatively new. So there's a relative dearth of information regarding CrossFit and its injury rates. And all of the information that I'd received while I was in school was based on personal opinion, even expert opinion on the matter. And then what I did is I looked at some of the recent research. And there are a couple of recent articles done, one systematic review on survey studies, and then one actually really interesting systematic review utilizing military personnel. So in the systematic review on survey data, which being a big research nerd that I am, survey data is okay at best. but it's still research and it's one of the best papers out there on the topic. So I looked into it and to my surprise, what we found was that CrossFit and doing CrossFit wasn't associated with an increased risk of injury relative to any other sport. So do CrossFit athletes get injured? Yes, of course. You're not impervious to injuries, but the rumors aren't necessarily true, and it doesn't necessarily deserve this bad reputation of being highly associated with injuries. Because what they found was that the rates of injury in CrossFit were the same as other sports like soccer, basketball, gymnastics, and Olympic weightlifting. And actually, in the cases of some sports that involve other people and other contacts, so introducing other types of variables that we can't necessarily control, like other individuals who we come into contact with, they found that there's maybe even a decreased chance of getting injury or a lower chance of getting injured. Whereas in CrossFit, we control many of the variables associated with getting injury. So there's no contact from other people and we can actually go at our own pace, even if we are really motivated to go as quickly as possible with some of the different workouts. Now, in the military training study, there are actually some really interesting findings. So a lot of military training is based on old school kind of theories on training involving long distance hiking with a heavy pack on and even long distance running. And what they decided was, let's try a different way of training. Let's try this high intensity fitness training, which is kind of the generic term for CrossFit-like training, where they do high intensity for a shorter period of time. So this one decreased the amount of time that the personnel had to work out and do fitness training, and two, actually change the type of loads and the types of exercises that they were doing to potentially become a little bit more specific towards their training, which is a lot of combat, heavy lifting, things like that, jumping over obstacles, etc. So what they found was that high intensity fitness training wasn't highly associated with an increase in injury. What they actually found was that the biggest associated factor was all the long distance running that they were doing, which, coming from a really big running background myself, I thought was kind of surprising, but made a lot of sense on the other hand, because I actually got injured quite a bit during my long distance running training. The bottom line with all of this research is that CrossFit isn't associated with increases in injuries or an increase in injury relative to any other sport. So it doesn't deserve the bad rap that it has. It should just be regarded as a normal, everyday sport that a lot of people can participate in to increase their musculoskeletal health and fitness. And there are some things associated with injuries in CrossFit, so you should try to find a CrossFit gym where you can go at your own pace and you can modify different workouts based on your individual needs. And then you should also have a CrossFit gym where the coaches walk around and supervise you during the workouts. So give you good cues on lifting form and technique and making sure that you're not going above certain thresholds and you're not training too hard and predisposing yourself to certain injuries.